This video is about the verb tense future progressive. This verb tense is not in the textbook for English 051, but you are supposed to learn a little bit about this verb tense in the course. So we'll start with the form. You can guess it's very similar to all the other progressive tenses that you've studied. They always have be and ing, right? Since this is future progressive, of course we're going to use will, be, and verb ing. So the main verb is present participle, ing form. Always will for every subject, that doesn't change. Always be, that's the base form that comes after will, that doesn't change. And then just put your main verb in ing. So the form is not difficult. It is possible that you could see future progressive also with going to instead of will. It's definitely possible. I don't think it's as common. If you look in in some grammar books, they will show almost all the examples with will. So again, you would have future with the verb to be. So you would need am, is, or are, and then going to, and then be, and then add on your main verb. So I am going to be sleeping at that time, right? Or he is going to be working at that time. You can definitely make future progressive with going to. It's a long verb. It has 5 different parts, so you have to be careful to not forget or mess up one of the parts. Okay, we always want to know what it means, right? Well, there's so much in common with the other progressive tenses that you've studied, because progressive means in progress, of course, right? So an action will be in progress at a certain point in the future. So I'm speaking now, and I'm thinking towards the future. So this X is the future point in time that I'm interested in. And the curvy line is the action that will be in progress at that time. We don't really know when it started. If it started close to that point, or maybe earlier, or maybe it's even happening now. It could be an action that's happening now. We don't know. The only thing with future progressive is we know about at that particular future time. It will be happening. So this is really the same thing as the other progressive tenses that you've studied. So a long time ago, you learned about present progressive. Here in the middle, we have now. This is something is happening now. It's present progressive. The action is in progress, and this is our focus point now. Then we had past progressive. So we were interested in a past point in time, some action that was in progress. Something was happening at that time, past progressive. So we're just shifting our point of focus, our point of interest. So if I'm interested in a future point in time and something that will be happening at that time, that's future progressive. So it's kind of the same idea, just with a different focus point in time. The time words are always important, right? In this case, you're going to use prepositions a lot. These are the same prepositions that you had to learn with past progressive. Do you remember? At, on, and in. So we use at with a specific time, a time on the clock. We use on with a day or a date or part of a day, such as a morning, afternoon, evening. And in with a year, a month, a season, a semester. So you can look at the examples here with a question and an answer and see the prepositional phrase. right? The preposition plus the noun that comes after. Notice, of course, as with other questions, the first part of the verb comes first and then the subject, then the rest of the verb. So what will you be doing at that time? Okay, at, on, and in. There's some other time expressions that are very common. Here we have in again, but this time it's with a quantity and a measure of time. What I mean by measure of time is maybe minutes, hours, days, weeks, months. So here's some examples. I will be doing something in 5 minutes. I'll be doing something in 20 years, in 6 months, in a few hours. So we have a number or something similar to a number like a few. And you could do exactly the same idea, but instead of in, you can use from now. So you need to know that both of those give you future time expressions. You can see the difference with from now. It comes at the end of the time phrase. Again, you have a quantity and a measure of time, and from now. So we could take the same expressions on the top part and do them one more way. 5 minutes from now, 20 years from now, 6 months from now, and a few hours from now. Okay, so remember we always talk about form and meaning and use. And use always involves those time words. But use can also be in terms of, communication between humans, and how do people actually use this grammar to try to accomplish certain purposes when they write, or in this case, it's when they speak. So here's a conversational usage, in other words, a common way that people might use this verb tense in a conversation. You can see the examples. Will you be going by the post office sometime soon? Will you be going to the library in the next few days? Will you be posting the grades soon? Okay, so future progressive can be an indirect way of asking someone to do something. It's softer, it's more polite, it's not as strong. So the example, I wrote this example about the first one about the post office. I need to put something in the mail. Maybe I'm too busy or too lazy. Maybe I don't want to waste gasoline by driving there. Instead of using a command, an imperative verb, which would be take this to the post office. Whoops, there's a mistake. For me. Fix that preposition. Take this to the post office for me. I could ask softly, politely, indirectly, and I would do it with future progressive. So it would be just like this first one. Will you be going by the post office sometime soon? That question is a hint to my friend that if you are going to the post office or somewhere close, that I would like you to do me a favor and take something for me. So this is just for speaking. For writing, I think probably the most important part that might be more difficult is the time clauses. So you've studied lots of time clauses. Here they are again with while and when. I think the ones with while are easy. So again, we are interested in a future point in time. We have an action in progress. But with a time clause, we have two clauses in a sentence, two verbs. So we have two actions, right? So here's my example. While her kids sleep, she will be doing her homework. While her kids are sleeping, she will be doing her homework. So you can notice the main clause uses future progressive. The time clause with while might use simple present, like most of the time clauses, future time clauses that you've studied. I think present progressive is also fine with while, but look, not future progressive. So you will not use future progressive in the time clause. Future progressive is only for the main clause. So we're going to use while when we talk about two actions that will be continuing simultaneously, right, at the same time. I think the ones with when are maybe trickier. So, you have studied time clauses with when in the future, right? If you imagine that your friend is going to arrive at the airport in St. Louis, and when you see him, you will be so happy, right? When you see him, you will be so happy. So what's going to happen first? Number one, you will see him. Number two, you will be happy. But in that example, I was just using normal future tense. So here we have an example with future progressive. Again, we're focused on a future time and an action that will be in progress. When his plane arrives, I will be waiting for him at the airport. So you can see I've got action 1 marked. That's the action with future progressive. And action 2 is in the time clause. Look at the verb. It's simple present. So waiting, waiting, waiting. And then the plane arrives. Of course, you can switch the clauses. You can put the time clause at the end if you want. So here's my other example. The food will still be cooking when you arrive at my house. We will eat a little bit later. Okay, so the food takes time, cooking, 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 not finished. But the cooking started earlier. The cooking will be in progress. And then later you will arrive. So again, notice simple present in the time clause. Simple present in the time clause. So that's what I have to show you with future progressive. It's definitely not as common as just normal be going to and will. But keep your ear and your eye out for examples. I'm sure you'll see some.